All right, everybody, I need you to hang with me on this one. It may seem a little scary, it may be a little bit frustrating, but we can do this, I promise you, and it's so important. We're talking about music notation. I am a firm believer in playing by ear. If you have the talent to sit down at a piano and make up your own songs and play melodies, or maybe hear a song on the radio and pick it up by ear and play it, I think that's the coolest thing in the world. But there's something that is just as important. It's knowing how the notes are represented on paper, or in some cases, on a screen. You have to know how to read these notes. Some people think you don't need to know how to read music, but you do. Imagine the world of opportunity that will open up to you if you know the basics of learning how to read notated music. A great analogy is this. You're in a foreign city, you don't speak the language, and you can't read the language, and you're trying to find an address on a particular street, and you're looking around, there's no way to know anything because you can't read it. Imagine how much more fruitful your trip would be if you could, say, pick up a newspaper in that language and read it. It's that important. Reading music, even on a fundamental level, is absolutely paramount, and that's what we're going to talk about here. Hang with me, it's not that difficult to do. The staff, you'll hear that phrase, that word, staff, thrown around a lot in music. It's 5 lines. Those 5 lines represent a range of notes. To make it easy, especially for the pianist, you can kind of divide those notes into 2 sections. The treble, which is the high stuff, and the bass, which is the low stuff. You have 5 lines, and on those 5 lines, you'll know whether it's going to be a treble clef or a bass clef, depending on the symbol. A treble clef looks like this. It's kind of a fancy, scriptive G thing with a little tail on it. Everybody has a different way of writing it, but when you see it in printed sheet music, it almost always looks like this. That symbol means, for the most part, you're going to be playing those notes with your right hand. The bass clef looks like kind of like an ear, or maybe a backwards C. Those notes on that staff are going to be played, for the most part, by your left hand. So now you've basically divided the piano up into 2 parts. Remember those groups of 12 notes we were talking about? Well, your right hand has a bunch of them to take care of, and your left hand has a bunch of them to take care of. I'm going to show you how you write the notes on the staff. And this is really, really important. This is the foundation of all written music. And if you can learn these notes and how they look on the page, you won't believe how much fun you'll have opening up some music and sitting down and playing it. So hang in there with me. The first note on the line is an E. There are 5 lines, and each of those lines has a letter associated with it. There are 4 spaces between those 5 lines. The bottom line is an E, which is the E that's right above middle C. If you remember where middle C is, go up 2 notes, C, D, E. That's the first line. The first line, E, is followed by the next line, which is 2 notes up, which is a G, which is followed by the next line, which is a B, which is followed by the next line, which is a D, which is followed by the next line, the last line, the highest line, which is an F. In between each line, there is a space. The space starts, the lowest space starts with F. The next space up is an A. The next space up is a C. The next space up is an E. So if you count up from that bottom line all the way to the top, you'll have kind of a scale. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, how many of y'all took piano lessons maybe when you were a kid? Or how many kids watching right now have ever wanted to remember what those lines are called. Here's an easy way to do it. Every good boy deserves fun. That's how I learned it. E, G, B, D, F. Those are your 5 lines. You've got it now. Every good boy deserves fun. So you know the first line is an E, every. The second line is a G, good. The third line is a B, boy. The fourth line is a D, deserves. And the top line is an F, fun. What about the spaces? F, A, C, E, face. Now you've got every single note on that scale, pretty much. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. That's the treble clef. And guess what? It's the same exact concept for the bass clef, except it starts in a different place. Instead of starting on E, it starts on a G. G, B, D, F, A. Those are the 5 notes in the bass clef that are on lines. The spaces are A, C, E, and G. Guess what? That's it. The treble clef and the bass clef. For now, let's kind of stick around the treble clef so you get used to, the idea of reading music and the idea of playing music with your right hand, but it's kind of the same thing. And if you're thinking, well, how do you play with 2 hands at one time? Don't worry about that. We'll get to it, I promise.